The shuttle touched down on Meridian Gate with a soft hiss. Jihoon pressed his face against the window, watching the massive orbital station stretch out in all directions. He had never seen anything so beautiful. Metal and light combined into something that looked like frozen music. "Stop gawking and get your tablet ready," Ambassador Rodriguez said from across the aisle. She was checking her formal uniform for the 5th time. Everyone on the shuttle was nervous. This was humanity's first real chance to make friends among the stars. Jihoon grabbed his tablet and followed the team out. The docking bay was enormous, big enough to hold 3 Earth skyscrapers standing side by side. But what caught his breath were the Valerians waiting for them. They were tall, much taller than any human. Their skin seemed to glow with soft light that moved in patterns across their bodies. Jihoon had studied the briefing materials, but seeing them in person was completely different. They moved with such grace that it made him feel clumsy just watching. The lead Valerian stepped forward. She wore long, flowing robes that seemed to shimmer between blue and silver. "I am Matriarch Yara. Welcome to Meridian Gate." Her voice was like wind chimes, beautiful but somehow cold. Ambassador Rodriguez bowed the way the cultural training had taught them. "Thank you for receiving us. We are honored to—" "Let us proceed to the ceremony hall," Matriarch Yara interrupted. "We have prepared the traditional welcome." Jihoon noticed several Valerians exchange glances. Their skin patterns flickered in ways that he couldn't understand yet. He made a mental note to study the color meanings more carefully. The ceremony hall was breathtaking. The ceiling showed the stars outside, making it feel like they were standing in open space. Hundreds of Valerians had gathered, all watching the humans with expressions that were hard to read. Everything went wrong during the ritual drink. A Valerian attendant brought forward a crystal cup filled with glowing blue liquid. She offered it to Ambassador Rodriguez with both hands. The ambassador reached for it, but then hesitated. Jihoon saw her face go pale. She was allergic to something in it. The medical scan from earlier must have shown the compound. "I apologize, but I cannot—" Rodriguez started to say. Matriarch Yara's skin patterns flashed bright red. The entire hall went silent. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. "You refuse the cup of welcome?" Yara's voice was sharp as broken glass. "I don't mean disrespect. I have a medical condition that—" "Excuses." Yara turned away. "This meeting is concluded. You will return to your quarters while we decide whether humanity is worth our time." The Valerians left in a wave of cold silence. The human delegation stood frozen in shock. 6 months of preparation, destroyed in 30 seconds. Back in their assigned quarters, the team sat in stunned silence. Rodriguez had her head in her hands. "I checked everything except the ceremonial drink composition." "It's not your fault," Mina said. She was another Korean diplomat on the team. "How could you have known?" "I should have known." Rodriguez stood up. "I'm going to draft a formal apology. The rest of you get some sleep. We'll deal with this in the morning." But Jihoon couldn't sleep. He lay in his small room staring at the ceiling, thinking about all those years of training wasted, about Earth's hopes for this alliance gone, about returning home as part of the team that failed first contact. At 2 in the morning, he gave up and wandered the residential section. The station was quiet. Emergency lighting painted everything in soft blue. He found his way to an observation deck that overlooked the curve of a nearby planet. He wasn't alone. A Valerian stood by the window. She was tall like all her people, but somehow seemed less intimidating than the others. Her skin patterns glowed soft purple and green as she stared out at the stars. Jihoon almost left, but she turned and saw him. "You are from the Earth delegation." It wasn't a question. "Yes, I'm Jihoon." "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intrude." "I am Vela." She looked back at the window. "You cannot sleep either?" "No." Jihoon moved closer but kept a respectful distance. I keep thinking about how badly today went. The ceremony, Vela said quietly. I know it looked like disrespect, but Ambassador Rodriguez really is allergic. She would have gotten very sick. Maybe died. Vela's patterns shifted to something softer. I suspected something like that, but Matriarch Yara is traditional. She sees only what she expects to see. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Vela asked, "Why do humans smile so much? Even when greeting us today, even during the ceremony, your faces kept making that expression." Jihoon blinked. Smiling? We smile because, well, for many reasons. To show we're friendly, to show we're not a threat. Sometimes because we're nervous. It seems false, Vela said, to show happiness you don't feel. It's not false exactly, it's complicated. Jihoon thought about how to explain. Humans smile even when we're scared because we want things to be okay. We smile hoping it will become real. Vela turned to look at him directly. Her eyes were larger than human eyes, more like a cat's, and they reflected the starlight. Your species lies with your faces? No. We hope with our faces. Something flickered across Vela's skin patterns. Jihoon wished he knew what it meant. They talked for hours after that. Vela wanted to know everything about Earth. Why humans fought so many wars. Why they made so much art. Why they cried at sad stories. Jihoon told her about growing up in Seoul, about his grandmother who survived the Korean War, about learning 3 languages because he wanted to connect with different people, about dreaming of the stars since he was a child. In return, Vela told him about the Valerian Empire, how her people once conquered half the galaxy but chose to stop, how they valued control and grace above all things, how they lived for centuries and saw time differently than short-lived species. How old are you? Jihoon asked. 247 of your years. Jihoon whistled softly. I'm 29. So young, Vela said, but not unkindly. Do you fear how brief your life is? Sometimes. But my grandmother always said that it's not how long you live, it's how deeply you live. I'd rather feel everything strongly for 30 years than feel nothing for 300. Vela's skin patterns did something beautiful then. They rippled with warm amber and gold light, cascading down her arms like falling leaves. She seemed surprised by her own reaction and turned away quickly. I should return to my quarters, she said. Did I say something wrong? No. She looked back at him, and for just a second, Jihoon thought he saw her try to smile. It was awkward, her face not quite built for it, but the attempt was there. You said something very right. Good night, Jihoon of Earth. Good night, Vela. He watched her leave, her robes flowing behind her like water. His heart was beating faster than it should be. He told himself it was just the excitement of actually talking with a Valerian, of maybe finding a way to fix the diplomatic disaster. But deep down, he knew it was something else, something that both excited and terrified him. The stars outside the window seemed brighter than before. The next morning brought bad news. A Valerian official arrived at the human quarters with a formal message. The council had decided. Humanity had 3 days to leave Meridian Gate. The diplomatic mission was over before it truly began. Ambassador Rodriguez looked like she hadn't slept. I've sent 17 apology messages. None have been answered. She slumped into a chair. Earth is going to be so disappointed. Jihoon felt sick. He thought about all the people back home who had hoped for this, all the children who dreamed of alien friends, all the scientists eager to learn from species that traveled the stars for centuries. His tablet buzzed. A private message. From Vela. Meet me in Section 7, Archive Room 3. Come alone. Tell no one. Jihoon's heart jumped. He looked around. Everyone was too busy being miserable to notice him. He slipped out quietly. The archive room was deep in the station, far from the main areas. Jihoon had to take 3 different elevators to reach it. The door was unmarked. He knocked softly. Vela opened it quickly and pulled him inside. The room was filled with data crystals on shelves that reached to the ceiling. Soft light made everything glow. "Thank you for coming," Vela said. Her skin patterns were swirling with nervous energy, colors shifting fast. "What's going on? Are you okay?" "I spoke to some council members last night, the ones who are not as traditional as Matriarch Yara." Vela paced back and forth. "They are willing to give humanity another chance, but only if we can prove this was a misunderstanding, not an insult." "How do we prove that?" "I need to understand humans better. Really understand. Not just read reports." She stopped and looked at him. "Will you teach me? About your people, your culture, everything?" Jihoon felt hope rising in his chest. "Yes. Absolutely yes. But why are you doing this? You could get in trouble for helping us." Vela's patterns shifted to something soft and warm. "Because last night, when we talked, I felt something I have not felt in a very long time. Curiosity. Wonder. You made me want to understand, not just judge." She paused. "And because your smile was genuine, even though you were sad, that interested me." So they began to meet. Every night after the rest of the delegation went to sleep, Jihoon would slip away to the archive room. Vela would be waiting with questions. She wanted to know everything. Why did humans create music? Jihoon played her traditional Korean songs on his tablet. He showed her modern K-pop. Vela's patterns danced with the rhythms in ways that made Jihoon smile. Why did humans write poetry about pain? Jihoon read her verses from Yun Dong-ju, translating as best he could. He explained how Koreans had a special word, han, for a kind of deep sorrow mixed with hope. "We've been hurt a lot throughout history," Jihoon explained. "Invaded, colonized, divided, but we always survived. We always kept our hearts open." "That sounds exhausting," Vela said. "Sometimes it is. But it also makes life feel real, makes connections matter." Why did humans fall in love? This question made Jihoon pause. He told her about his parents, how they met in college, how his father said he knew on the first day that his mother was special, how they stayed together through good times and hard times. "Valerians do not have love like this," Vela said quietly. "We have respect. We have compatible genetics. We have social arrangements. But this thing you described, this choosing someone just because they make your heart feel different, we lost that long ago." "Maybe you didn't lose it. Maybe you just forgot how." Vela taught Jihoon about her people, too. The Valerian Empire once believed in conquest. They took planets by force. But 300 years ago, a great war nearly destroyed them. They changed after that. Chose peace. Chose careful thought over quick action. "We became wise," Vela said. "But maybe we also became cold." "You're not cold," Jihoon said before he could stop himself. Her patterns flashed bright, then soft. She didn't respond, but something in the air between them felt different. On the 3rd night, Vela told him she was ready. She had prepared a presentation for the council. She would argue that humanity's behavior came from passion, not disrespect, that Earth was young but valuable, that they deserved a chance. "Will it work?" Jihoon asked. "I don't know, but I must try." The presentation happened the next day. Jihoon and the other humans weren't allowed to attend. They waited in their quarters, barely breathing. Hours passed like years. Finally, a message came. The council had voted. By a narrow margin, they agreed to extend the mission. Humanity would have a probationary period of 6 months to prove they could learn Valerian customs and build real friendship. The delegation celebrated. Ambassador Rodriguez actually cried with relief. Mina hugged everyone. Someone broke out a bottle of wine they'd hidden in their luggage, but Jihoon slipped away. He went to the observation deck where he and Vela first met. She was there, standing by the window like before. "You did it," he said. "We did it," she corrected. "Your stories, your explanations. I could not have convinced them without understanding, and I could not understand without you." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the planet turn below. Then Vela did something that shocked him. She smiled, actually smiled. It was awkward, her face not built for the expression. Her mouth moved strangely, but it was real, an attempt at a human gesture. "How do I look?" she asked. Jihoon felt his throat get tight. "Beautiful." Her patterns erupted in golds and ambers, brighter than he'd ever seen. She turned away quickly. "I should return to my duties." "Vela, wait." She paused at the door. "Thank you. For everything. For believing we were worth saving." She looked back at him. "Perhaps you saved me too. I had forgotten what it feels like to care about something, really care." Then she was gone. Jihoon stayed by the window for a long time. His hands were shaking. He knew what was happening to him. He was falling for someone completely impossible. An alien who lived centuries, who came from a culture that didn't believe in love, who glowed with inner light and moved like music. He was falling, and he had no idea how to stop, or if he even wanted to. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant, but inside his chest, something warm was growing. Something dangerous and wonderful and terrifying all at once. The next 6 months were going to change everything. He could feel it. 3 months passed. The diplomatic mission slowly found its rhythm. More humans arrived on Meridian Gate. Scientists, cultural experts, teachers. They set up exchange programs with the Valerians, small steps toward friendship. Jihoon and Vela continued their secret meetings, though they told themselves it was still just cultural exchange. They met in the archives, sometimes in the gardens where Valerians grew strange, glowing plants, once in a meditation chamber where the walls showed memories captured in light. But Mina was starting to notice. "You disappear every night," she said one morning over breakfast. "Where do you go?" "Just walking. Learning the station." Mina gave him a look that said she didn't believe him. "Be careful, Jihoon. This mission is fragile. We can't afford mistakes." That evening, humans performed a concert for Valerians in the main hall. A Korean traditional music group had arrived from Earth. They played gayagayam and geomungo, instruments that sang with voices older than memory. Jihoon sat in the back and watched Valerian faces. Most looked politely interested, but a few, especially the younger ones, seemed genuinely moved. Their skin patterns danced with the music. One elderly Valerian had tears running down her face, glowing faintly as they fell. After the concert, Vela found him. "That was beautiful. The sounds felt like colors I could see. That's how my grandmother describes music, too." They walked together through the quiet corridors. For the first time, they walked side by side instead of keeping distance. Their hands almost touched once. Jihoon felt electricity run through him. "Vela, can I ask you something personal?" "Yes." "Have you ever had a resonance bond, that thing you told me about where Valerian souls connect?" Her patterns dimmed. "No. In 200 years, I never felt it. My family thinks something is wrong with me." She paused. "Do you have someone? On Earth?" "No. I've dated people, but nothing serious. My grandmother says I'm too picky, that I'm waiting for something that might not exist." "What are you waiting for?" Jihoon thought carefully. "Someone who makes the world feel bigger and smaller at the same time. Someone who makes me want to be better. Someone whose smile I never get tired of seeing." Vela stopped walking. Her patterns were doing something complex, colors swirling fast. "Jihoon!" His tablet buzzed urgently. Then Vela's communication device lit up. Emergency messages. They ran to the command center. Chaos everywhere. Screens showing a ship in distress. Ambassador Rodriguez was shouting orders. "What happened?" Jihoon asked. "Colony ship, the New Soul, 50,000 people in cryosleep. Their life support is failing." Rodriguez's face was pale. "They have maybe 6 hours before everyone dies." Jihoon felt his blood turn cold. 50,000 people, Korean families, children, all headed to a new world, now trapped in metal coffins. "We need Valerian help," Rodriguez said. "Their ships are faster, but the Council needs to approve any rescue mission. I've sent the request, but they might say no," Jihoon finished. The Council moved slowly. They debated everything. 6 hours might not be enough time. Vela was already on her communication device, speaking rapid Valerian. Jihoon couldn't follow all of it, but he heard urgency in her voice. She ended the call and turned to Rodriguez. "I'm dispatching 3 Valerian rescue ships. They'll reach the New Soul in 4 hours." "You have authorization?" Rodriguez asked. "No, but those ships follow my family name. They will obey me." "Vela, you could get in serious trouble for this. People are dying." Her patterns flashed bright red, a color Jihoon had learned meant anger or determination. "I will not let bureaucracy kill them." The next 4 hours were the longest of Jihoon's life. They watched the screens, watched the Valerian ships race through space, watched the New Soul's systems failing one by one. The rescue was close. So close. The Valerian ships arrived with 30 minutes to spare. They attached to the colony ship, began transferring the sleeping humans to safety. Everyone in the command center held their breath. Then the screens showed all green, all 50,000 people safe, alive, saved by ships that weren't supposed to launch without council approval. The humans cheered. Rodriguez was crying again. Mina grabbed Jihoon in a tight hug. "They're safe. They're all safe." But Jihoon looked at Vela. She stood apart from the celebration, her patterns dim and gray. She knew what was coming. The council summons arrived an hour later. Vela had to appear before Matriarch Yara and the full council, immediately, for unauthorized use of Valerian resources. For acting without approval. For putting Valerian ships at risk for humans. "Let me come with you," Jihoon said. "You can't. This is Valerian law. Only I can face this. Then I'll wait for you." She looked at him for a long moment. "Why? Why do you care so much?" "Because you're my friend. Because you saved 50,000 people. Because you're the bravest person I've ever met." Her patterns did something he'd never seen before. Pale blue and silver, flickering like starlight. "I must go." Jihoon waited outside the council chamber for hours. Other humans came and went. Rodriguez tried to make him eat. Mina sat with him for a while. "You love her," Mina said quietly. It wasn't a question. "Yes. That's going to be complicated." "I know." When Vela finally emerged, her patterns were nearly dark. Jihoon jumped up. "What happened?" "I've been stripped of my position. Formal reprimand in my record. I'm being sent to an outpost at the edge of our territory. Tomorrow." "No, that's not fair. You saved lives." "I broke protocol." Her voice was tired. "In Valerian society, that matters more than good intentions. We'll fight this. Ambassador Rodriguez can appeal to the council. The families from the New Soul can testify. We'll—" "Jihoon, stop." She looked at him with those large, reflective eyes. "Accept what is." "No, not when it's wrong." Something flickered across her face. Surprise, maybe, or hope. "You would fight the entire council for me?" "Yes." "Why?" The question hung in the air between them. Jihoon knew his answer would change everything, could ruin everything, but he was tired of hiding. Because when I'm with you, the universe makes sense. Because you taught me that different doesn't mean less. Because you smiled that awkward human smile and my heart forgot how to beat properly. He took a breath. Because I care about you. More than I've ever cared about anyone. Vela's patterns erupted in violent cascades of color. Gold and amber and colors he had no names for. She stepped back, clearly overwhelmed. I have to leave. Tomorrow. Early. Then I have until tomorrow to find a way to fix this. Ji-hoon, you can't watch me. She started to argue, then stopped. For a second, she almost smiled again. You are very stubborn for someone so young. My grandmother always said stubbornness is a virtue. Mine said the same thing. Vela turned to leave, then looked back. Thank you for caring. I don't think anyone has cared about me like this in a very long time. Then she was gone, and Ji-hoon was alone in the corridor. But he wasn't defeated. He was angry, determined, ready to do something probably very stupid. He went to find Ambassador Rodriguez. He had a plan. Ambassador Rodriguez stared at Ji-hoon like he had grown a second head. You want to invoke the advocate's right? Do you understand what that means? Yes. Any being can speak before the council if they're willing to stake their life on their words. If the council finds me dishonest or disrespectful, they can order my execution. Execution, Ji-hoon. Death. For a diplomatic matter. For Vela. Rodriguez sat down heavily. Mina, who had been listening by the door, came closer. You really love her that much? Yes. Rodriguez and Mina exchanged looks. Then Rodriguez sighed. The Valerians haven't had an advocate's right invoked in 70 years. It's an ancient custom. They might not even accept it. But they might. You could die. 50,000 people almost died yesterday. Vela saved them and got punished. If I can fix that, I have to try. Rodriguez was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. I'll submit the formal request. But Ji-hoon, if they accept, you get one chance. One speech. Make it count. The request went through official channels. Hours passed with no response. Ji-hoon couldn't sleep. He paced his quarters, thinking about what he would say. How he could possibly convince beings who lived for centuries and valued tradition above everything. At dawn, the answer came. The council would hear him. Tomorrow, noon. Ji-hoon spent the day preparing. He didn't write anything down. The advocate's right required speaking from the heart, not from notes. He thought about his grandmother, about his parents, about everything he'd learned from Vela about Valerian culture. Mina brought him food he couldn't eat. Are you scared? Terrified. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. She squeezed his shoulder. Make us proud. That evening, Vela came to his quarters. She shouldn't have. She was confined pending her transfer, but she came anyway. You're a fool, she said when he opened the door. I've been told that before. You could die tomorrow. I know. Why would you do this? Her patterns were swirling with colors he'd learned meant distress and confusion. Because it's the right thing to do. Because you deserved better. Because... He paused. Because I can't imagine a universe without you in it. And if you're being sent away for doing something good, then that universe is broken. So I'm going to try to fix it. Vela stepped closer. They'd never been this close before. He could feel the cool energy radiating from her skin. Her patterns had shifted to soft golds and silvers. I have never met anyone like you, she said quietly. In 200 years, I have never met anyone who would risk everything for another person with no promise of reward. That's what humans do. We're kind of stubborn about caring. She reached out slowly. Her hand touched his face, cool against his skin. It was the first time they'd touched. The sensation made his breath catch. Promise me something, she said. Anything. If it goes badly tomorrow, if they rule against you, don't resist. Don't fight. Just survive. Vela, promise me. I promise. She pulled her hand back. Her patterns dimmed. I should go before someone notices I'm here. Good luck tomorrow, Jehoon of Earth. Vela, wait. There's something I need to say. In case tomorrow goes wrong. She turned back. Meeting you changed my life. These months, talking with you, learning from you, they've been the best months I've ever lived. Whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to know that. You made me better. You made me braver. You made me feel like maybe the universe is bigger than I thought, and that's a gift. So thank you. Her patterns cascaded through every color he'd ever seen her display. For a moment, he thought she might say something, but she just looked at him with those reflective eyes, nodded once, and left. Jehoon didn't sleep that night. He watched the stars through his window and thought about everything he wanted to say. Morning came too fast. Ambassador Rodriguez and Mina walked with him to the council chamber. A crowd had gathered. Apparently, news of a human invoking the advocate's right had spread. Valerians and humans both lined the corridors, watching him pass. The council chamber was massive. The ceiling showed the galaxy above, stars and nebulae swirling. The council sat in a semicircle, 12 Valerians in ceremonial robes. Matriarch Yara sat in the center, her patterns cold blue. Jehoon walked to the center of the chamber. His legs felt weak, but he kept his back straight. He thought about his grandmother who survived war, about his parents who taught him courage, about Vela, who was worth fighting for. You invoke the advocate's right, Matriarch Yara said. You understand the terms? I do. Then speak. Convince us that the punishment given to Vela of House Tarim was unjust. Convince us that a human barely 3 decades old understands our law better than we who have lived centuries. Speak, and we will judge your words. Jehoon took a breath. He looked around the chamber, saw Vela standing in the audience section, her patterns dim with worry, saw Ambassador Rodriguez and Mina, saw dozens of Valerians watching with expressions he couldn't read. He began. Matriarch Yara, honored council members, I am not going to pretend I understand your laws better than you do. I'm young. My species is young. We've only been reaching for the stars for a handful of decades while you've sailed between them for millennia. Some council members nodded slightly. Good. Acknowledge their superiority. Don't challenge it directly. But I want to tell you a story about my grandmother. She's 93 years old now. When she was young, there was a terrible war on Earth, the Korean War. Her village was destroyed, her family scattered. She was alone, hungry, scared. Jehoon saw some Valerians leaning forward slightly. They loved stories. Vela had taught him that. A soldier found her, an enemy soldier. He should have ignored her, or worse. But he gave her food, shared his water, helped her reach safety. He broke protocol, broke orders, risked punishment for a child from the other side. My grandmother survived because someone chose compassion over rules. Years later, she told me something I've never forgotten. She said, laws exist to protect us, but sometimes love has to break them to save us. That soldier who saved her? He was executed when his commanders found out what he'd done. The chamber was silent. Even Matriarch Yara's patterns had shifted slightly. Vela of House Tarim broke protocol yesterday. She launched ships without approval, but she did it to save 50,000 lives. 50,000 people who would have died while we waited for proper procedures. Jehoon's voice grew stronger. You can punish her for breaking rules, but doesn't it say something about your rules if following them would have meant mass death? A council member with dark patterns spoke. You suggest we ignore law when convenient? No. I suggest you remember why laws exist. They exist to help societies function, to keep people safe. But Vela's actions kept people safe. She didn't break your laws to harm anyone. She broke them to save everyone. Jehoon looked directly at Matriarch Yara. Vela told me you used to be different, that you once advocated for the Empire to reach out to younger species, to be teachers, not just observers. What changed? When did following procedure become more important than doing what's right? Yara's patterns flashed red. You presume much, human. I presume nothing. I'm asking. Because I don't understand how a civilization as wise as yours can punish someone for being brave, for being compassionate, for having a heart that still knows how to care. He turned to address the full council. You've forgotten something. You've lived so long that you've forgotten what it's like to feel urgently, to love deeply, to risk everything for something that matters. Humans remember. We have to. Our lives are short. We don't have centuries to be careful, so we care intensely. We love fiercely. We act when we must. And maybe, Jehoon said quietly, that's what you need to learn from us. Not technology, not strategy, but how to feel again. How to let your hearts guide you as much as your rules. The chamber erupted. Some council members argued among themselves. Others sat in thoughtful silence. Matriarch Yara held up her hand for quiet. You speak well for one so young, but you have not convinced me that I'm not finished. Jehoon's voice rang out. There's one more thing. The chamber went silent again. Speaking over a matriarch was incredibly disrespectful. But he'd already come this far. Vela didn't just save those people yesterday. She saved your mission, too. If those 50,000 humans had died while Valerian ships sat idle waiting for approval, this alliance would be over. Earth would never forgive it. Never forget it. She saved lives and saved the peace. And you're punishing her for it. He looked at Yara directly. You tested Ambassador Rodriguez at that first ceremony. You told Vela you were testing us. So I'm asking, what are you testing now? Whether we'll abandon someone who helped us. Whether we care more about rules than people? Because if that's the test, I'm failing on purpose. Matriarch Yara stood slowly. Her patterns were impossible to read. The chamber held its breath. Then she did something no one expected. She laughed. The sound of Matriarch Yara's laughter was like crystal bells ringing through the chamber. Every Valerian and human froze in shock. Council members stared at their leader with wide eyes. Even Vela looked stunned, her patterns flickering wildly. Yara walked down from her seat. She approached Jehoon, and he had to crane his neck to look up at her. Her patterns had shifted to warm colors, golds and soft greens. You dare speak to me that way, she said. But she was smiling, actually smiling. You interrupt me, you challenge me, you stand here, a child by our measure, and lecture us about compassion. Jehoon's heart was pounding. I'm sorry if I was disrespectful, but don't apologize now. It ruins the effect. Yara turned to address the council. I told you all months ago that humanity would teach us something valuable. Here is the proof. This young man risks his life to defend someone who saved lives. He speaks truth even when it could kill him. He feels deeply enough to fight the entire council. She looked back at Jehoon. I was testing you, both you and Vela. I wanted to see if your connection was real or just diplomatic convenience. I wanted to see if humans truly care as deeply as they claim, or if it's all performance. You were testing us? Jehoon felt anger rising. People could have died. No. I would have approved the rescue ships through emergency channels. But I wanted to see if Vela would act first, if her heart had awakened enough to choose compassion over fear. Yara's patterns glowed brighter. She passed, and then you passed by coming here, by speaking these words. The matriarch addressed the council again. We have grown stagnant, safe. We follow procedure because it's comfortable. We've forgotten that rules should serve life, not replace it. She turned to where Vela stood. Vela of House Tarim, your punishment is revoked. Your position is restored. The Council formally recognizes your actions as heroic, not criminal. The chamber erupted in sound, Valerians and humans both talking at once. Jihoon felt his knees go weak with relief. He'd done it, actually done it. Yara wasn't finished. Furthermore, the Council grants humanity full diplomatic recognition. We will pursue formal alliance. Earth has proven it has what we lost: passion, courage, and hearts that still know how to love. She looked at Jihoon one more time. You are free to go, though I suspect you have someone you wish to speak with. Jihoon barely heard her. He was already pushing through the crowd toward Vela. She met him halfway. For a moment, they just stood there, staring at each other. Her patterns were cascading through every color, like a rainbow in motion. "You're insane," she said. "You already told me that." "You could have died." "But I didn't." She reached out and touched his face again, that same gesture from last night. But this time, she didn't pull away. "Thank you for fighting for me, for seeing me as worth saving. You are worth saving. You're worth everything." Around them, people were celebrating. Humans and Valerians talking, laughing, making plans. The alliance was real now, strong. But Jihoon only saw Vela, only felt her cool touch on his skin. "I need to tell you something," Vela said quietly. "Last night when you touched my hand, when you spoke those words, I felt something I've never felt before. Like my soul recognized yours. Like we were singing the same song across all the distance between our worlds." "A resonance bond?" Jihoon whispered. "I think so. I don't know how it's possible between species, but I feel it. You're in my heart now, Jihoon. I don't know what to do with that." "Neither do I, but maybe we figure it out together?" She smiled then, that awkward human smile she'd been practicing. It was getting better, more natural. "Yes, together." The next months were strange and wonderful. The alliance between Earth and the Valerian Empire grew stronger. Cultural exchange programs expanded, scientists shared knowledge, artists collaborated. Slowly, carefully, two species learned to be friends. But Jihoon and Vela had their own journey. They continued meeting, though now openly. Everyone knew about them. The human who spoke truth to power. The Valerian who chose love over law. They became symbols of the alliance itself. Yet being symbols didn't make things easier. The differences between them were real and complicated. Valerians didn't have romantic relationships like humans did. Vela tried to explain their bonding process, but the concepts didn't translate well. They connected deeply, but not with the physical intimacy humans expected. Touch was rare and significant. "Do you want to touch me?" Jihoon asked one evening as they walked through the station gardens. The plants around them glowed softly, responding to movement. Vela's patterns flickered. "Want is a complicated word. I enjoy when we touch, but Valerians don't need physical contact the way humans do. We bond through mental resonance." "I'm not good at mental resonance. I'm very good at holding hands." She laughed. It was a sound he'd worked hard to hear. "We are very different." "Yes. But maybe that's okay?" "Maybe." But doubts crept in. For Jihoon, they came late at night when he lay in bed thinking. Was he being selfish? Vela would live for centuries. He had maybe 50 more years if he was lucky. What kind of life could they have when his entire existence was barely a moment in hers? For Vela, the doubts came from her family. Her sister Nira visited from the Valerian homeworld. She was tall, elegant, and clearly disapproving. They met for a formal meal in Vela's quarters. Jihoon wore his best suit. He wanted to make a good impression. But Nira's patterns stayed cool blue the entire evening, polite but distant. "So you're the human my sister has bonded with," Nira said. "I hope so, yes. You understand you will die in what we consider a brief moment? You will age and fade while Vela is still young. She will watch you deteriorate. Nira? Vela's patterns flashed red. It's a fair question, Jihoon said quietly. He looked at Nira directly. You're right. My life is short by your standards. I'll be old when Vela is barely middle-aged. I'll die and leave her alone. Then why pursue this connection? Because the time we have matters more than the time we don't. Because 50 years of real love is worth more than 300 years of comfortable emptiness? He looked at Vela. And because she makes me want to live every moment as fully as possible. Isn't that what life should be? Nira was quiet for a moment. Her patterns shifted slightly. You speak well for someone so young, but pretty words don't change biology, don't change time. No, but they change hearts. And right now, that's enough. The dinner ended awkwardly. Nira left with cool goodbyes. Vela walked her to the transport bay, and they spoke in rapid Valerian that Jihoon couldn't follow. When Vela returned, her patterns were dim. She thinks I'm making a mistake, Vela said. Maybe you are. Vela looked at him sharply. You think so? I think we're both taking a risk. We're trying something that might not work. Different species, different lifespans, different everything. Jihoon took a breath. But I think some things are worth the risk. You taught me that when you launched those ships to save the new soul. Her patterns brightened slightly. That's different. How? You broke rules for something that mattered. I'm just asking that we keep breaking rules together. That we choose each other even when it's complicated, even when people tell us we're foolish. We are foolish. Yes, but we're foolish together. That counts for something. She stepped closer. They were getting better at being near each other, learning each other's boundaries and comfort zones. What if I can't give you what human partners give each other? Then we'll find our own way. Maybe we won't look like other couples. Maybe we'll create something new, something that's just ours. A hybrid relationship for a hybrid alliance. Exactly. They stood in comfortable silence. Outside the window, Earth hung in the distance, blue and green and beautiful. Vela's homeworld was on the other side of the galaxy. So much space between them. But right here, right now, that space felt small. Jihoon? Yes? When you spoke to the council, when you risked everything, you said you couldn't imagine a universe without me in it. I meant it. I have started feeling the same way. About you. About the universe being wrong if you're not in it. She paused. It frightens me. I'm supposed to be wise, experienced. But you make me feel young and uncertain. Good. Uncertainty means we're growing, means we're learning. She smiled that awkward smile. It was getting more natural every time. Teach me more about being human, about feeling this deeply. If you teach me about being Valerian, about thinking this clearly, deal. They stayed in her quarters that night, just talking. About everything and nothing. About hopes and fears. About the strange miracle of two souls finding each other across the impossible distance between worlds. And somewhere in those hours, as stars wheeled past the window, they both understood that whatever they were building together was real, was worth fighting for, was worth every complication and challenge ahead. 6 months after Jihoon's speech to the council, everything changed again. Not with drama or crisis, but with quiet news that shook both species. A human colony ship, the new Soul, the same ship Vela had saved, had reached its destination planet. The colonists had awakened from cryo-sleep. They sent messages back to Earth and to Meridian Gate, 50,000 thank-you messages, most of them addressed to Vela personally. Ambassador Rodriguez called a ceremony to honor Vela. The main hall was packed with humans and Valerians. Children from the new Soul had recorded videos. Families spoke about their gratitude. One little girl, maybe 6 years old, said Vela was her hero. Vela stood on the stage looking overwhelmed. Her patterns kept shifting colors rapidly. Ji-hoon stood in the audience watching her, feeling his chest tight with pride and something deeper, something that scared him with its intensity. After the ceremony, Vela disappeared. Ji-hoon found her eventually in the meditation chamber, sitting alone in the dark. The walls showed captured memories, light dancing in patterns that told stories without words. "Too many people," she said when he sat beside her. "You did good. You should be proud. I just did what was right. Why do I need ceremonies for that? Because people want to say thank you. Because what you did mattered." He paused. "Because you're a hero, whether you feel like one or not." Her patterns dimmed. "I don't feel like a hero. I feel confused, lost. Why? Because all of this, the alliance, the friendships, the changes in how my people think, it started with you, with us, with this impossible thing between us." She turned to look at him. "What are we, Ji-hoon? Really?" The question hung in the air. They'd been avoiding it for months, dating but not dating, connected but not defined, moving carefully around what they were becoming. "I don't know," Ji-hoon admitted. "We're not like human couples, not like Valerian bonds. We're something else. Something undefined. Maybe that's okay." "Is it?" Vela's patterns swirled with agitation. "The council has started asking questions. About us. About whether our connection influences my diplomatic decisions. About whether I'm compromised." Ji-hoon felt cold. "What did you tell them?" "That you're my friend. That we have resonance. That it doesn't affect my work." She paused. "But that's not entirely true. You do affect my work. You affect everything. When I make decisions now, I think about what you would say, about human values, about caring deeply. You've changed me. Is that bad? I don't know. The Valerian way is to be objective, separate, to make decisions from pure logic. But you've taught me that pure logic misses something important. Misses heart." Ji-hoon moved closer. They were getting better at proximity. "Do you regret it? Meeting me, everything that's happened?" "No, never." Her patterns shifted to warm golds. "But I'm afraid." "Of what?" "Of losing this. Of losing you. Of time moving forward and taking you away from me." Her voice dropped. "Your people age so fast, Ji-hoon. Already I can see small differences in you from 6 months ago. Tiny lines around your eyes, your hair slightly different. You're changing while I stay the same." He'd thought about this too, worried about it late at night. "I'm 29 now. In 20 years I'll be almost 50. Old by human standards, you'll still look exactly like this." "Yes." "In 40 years I'll be elderly. If I'm lucky, you'll be in your prime." "Yes." "Does that bother you?" Vela was quiet for a long time. "It terrifies me. I've never bonded with anyone before, never felt this resonance. And now that I have it, I know I'll lose it, that you'll fade and leave me alone again, for centuries, knowing what I lost." Ji-hoon felt his throat get tight. "Maybe this is a mistake then. Maybe we should step back before it gets harder." "Is that what you want?" "No. God, no. But I don't want to hurt you either. I don't want to be the reason you're sad for 300 years. "Ji-hoon." She took his hands. Her touch still sent electricity through him. "You already changed me. Stepping back now won't undo that. Won't make me forget. So we can either end this now and both be miserable, or we can keep going and see what happens. Keep going toward pain. Keep going toward love, however long we have." He looked at their joined hands. Human warmth and Valerian cool. So different. So right. "You're sure?" "No, but I'm sure I want to try." The next week brought another complication. The council announced plans for a permanent embassy on Earth, in Seoul. They asked Vela to lead the project, to be the first Valerian ambassador to humanity's homeworld, and they asked Ji-hoon to join her as the human liaison. It meant leaving Meridian Gate, going home, working together officially, building something permanent. "What do you think?" Vela asked. They were in the observation deck, their place, watching stars. "I think it's a huge opportunity, for both of us. For the Alliance." "That's not what I asked. I asked what you think, about us working together, living on the same planet, being together every day." Ji-hoon took a breath. "I think I'm terrified, because if we do this, we're not just friends anymore. We're not just colleagues with resonance. We're choosing each other, publicly, officially. Everyone will know." "Yes. And that means facing everything, the age difference, the cultural differences, the fact that we're from different species, the fact that I'll die and leave you." "Yes. Are you ready for that?" Vela's patterns did something beautiful. They cascaded through every warm color, then settled into steady gold. "I need to ask you something first, before I answer." "Okay." She turned to face him fully. Her large eyes reflected the starlight. "Ji-hoon, why did you choose me? Among all the women in the galaxy, human women who would be easier. Valerian women who would better match my status. Why me?" The question struck him silent. He thought about all the complicated answers, about cultural exchange and diplomatic connections and resonance bonds, about how she challenged him and taught him and made him think differently. But the truth was simpler than all that. "Because your smile is very lovely," he said softly. Vela stared at him. Her patterns froze. Then they erupted in the most intense display he'd ever seen from her. Waves of color cascaded down her body, brilliant golds and ambers and colors that seemed to glow from within. Her skin was practically radiating light. "You—" she started, then stopped. Her patterns kept cascading. "That's your reason?" "My smile? That first smile, when you tried to make a human expression. It was awkward and imperfect, and the most genuine thing I'd ever seen. You tried to understand me, to meet me halfway, and I thought, this is someone worth knowing, worth caring about, worth everything." The colors intensified. Vela turned away, trying to control them. In Valerian culture, such displays were intensely private, the equivalent of blushing deeply, showing every emotion on your skin for anyone to see. "I can't control it," she said, her voice shaky. "You're making me lose all composure." "Is that bad?" "It's embarrassing. It's emotional. She turned back to him. "It's wonderful and terrifying, and I don't know how to handle it." Ji-hoon stepped closer. "Do you have an answer to the question? About soul? About choosing this?" Vela's patterns were still cascading, still brilliant with color. "Yes, I choose this. I choose you. However long we have, however complicated it gets. I would rather have 50 years with you than 300 years alone." "You're sure?" "No, but I'm sure I want to try. Sure that when I imagine the future, you're in it. Sure that my soul sings when you're near." Her patterns shifted to something softer. "Sure that I love you, in whatever way a Valerian can love a human." Ji-hoon felt tears in his eyes. "I love you too, in whatever way a human can love a Valerian." "Then we're both fools together. The best kind of fools." She smiled then, that smile that had captured his heart 6 months ago. But it wasn't awkward anymore. It was natural, real, hers. And Ji-hoon kissed her for the first time. Valerians didn't kiss usually. It wasn't part of their culture. But Vela had learned about it, prepared for it. She kissed him back with cool lips and warm intent. When they pulled apart, both were glowing. Ji-hoon with human warmth and joy, Vela with patterns that told everyone exactly how she felt. "The whole station probably saw that display," she said. "Good, let them know." You're not embarrassed? Embarrassed? I'm proud. You chose me. Me, a human who will be gone in a blink by your measure, and you chose me anyway. Because your smile is very lovely too, she said quietly. They stood in the observation deck, holding each other, watching the stars wheel past. Two souls from different worlds, two hearts beating together, two people who chose love even when logic said it was impossible. Tomorrow they would tell the council. Would accept the assignment to Earth. Would begin building not just an embassy, but a life together. However complicated, however brief by Valerian standards. But tonight, they had this moment. This perfect, now. And that was enough. 6 months later, the shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere. Jehoon pressed his face to the window, watching clouds part to reveal Seoul spread out below. Towers of glass and metal, parks of green, the Han River cutting through like a silver ribbon. It's beautiful, Vela said beside him. Her patterns were swirling with nervous energy. You've seen it in pictures. Pictures don't capture the feeling, the life, so many humans in one place. The shuttle landed at Incheon Spaceport. When the doors opened, the noise hit them immediately. Thousands of people had gathered, reporters, curious citizens, children waving flags. The crowd roared when they saw Vela step out. They're here for you, Jehoon said. They're here for us, for what we represent. Ambassador Rodriguez met them at the bottom of the ramp. She'd been on Earth for a month, preparing the embassy. Welcome home, Jehoon. Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Vela. Ambassador? Vela's patterns flickered. The council made it official last week. You're the first Valerian ambassador to Earth. Congratulations. The next weeks blurred together. There were meetings with Earth government officials, tours of Seoul, interviews with media from every nation. Everywhere they went, people stared at Vela with wonder. She was the first Valerian most humans had ever seen in person. The embassy building was in Gangnam, a gleaming structure that combined Earth and Valerian architecture. Human geometric lines merged with flowing Valerian curves. Inside, humans and Valerians worked side by side, learning from each other. But the most important moment came 3 weeks after arrival. Jehoon took Vela to meet his grandmother. The old woman lived in a traditional Hanok house in Bukchon. Jehoon had called ahead, explained everything, but he was still nervous as they approached the wooden gate. She's very old, he said. 93. Her health isn't great, but she insisted on meeting you. I'm honored. And she'll probably say embarrassing things. She has no filter anymore. Vela's patterns showed amusement. I look forward to it. Grandmother Kim was waiting in the courtyard. She was tiny, bent with age, but her eyes were bright and sharp. She looked Vela up and down with frank curiosity. So you're the alien who stole my grandson's heart. Grandmother! Jehoon's face went red. It's accurate, isn't it? The old woman laughed. Come, sit. Let me look at you properly. They sat at a low table. Grandmother Kim served tea with shaking hands. She studied Vela with the same intensity she'd once used to examine fabric at her sewing shop. You're very tall, she said. Yes, Valerians are naturally taller than humans. And you glow. That's unusual. It's called bioluminescence. It shows emotion. Useful. With humans, you have to guess what they're feeling. This is better. She sipped her tea. How old are you, child? 247 years. Ha! You're older than my grandmother was. But you look at my grandson like you're young. Like you're discovering love for the first time. Vela's patterns shifted to soft colors. I am. I've never felt resonance before him. Resonance. That's your word for love? Similar, deeper maybe, souls recognizing each other. Grandmother Kim nodded slowly. I felt that with my husband. First time I saw him, my soul said, that one. Didn't make sense. We were from different worlds in our way, different families, different expectations, but the heart knows what it knows. They talked for hours. Grandmother Kim told stories about the war, about surviving, about Jihoon as a child. Vela listened with complete attention, her patterns showing respect and interest. Finally, the old woman grew tired, but before they left, she took Vela's hands in her wrinkled ones. "You'll live long after my grandson is gone," she said bluntly. "Maybe 200 years after. That will be hard, very hard." "I know. But you're choosing it anyway." "Yes." "Good. That's love. Real love. Choosing someone knowing you'll lose them. Choosing the pain because the joy is worth it." She squeezed Vela's hands. "Take care of him, and let him take care of you. That's what love is, taking care of each other." "I will. I promise." Grandmother Kim turned to Jihoon. "You found a good one. Don't mess it up." "I'll try not to. And bring her back to visit. I want to hear more alien stories before I die." "You're not dying yet, Grandmother." "Everyone dies, child. It's what we do with the time before that matters." Outside, walking back through the traditional neighborhood, Vela was quiet. Her patterns were complex, many colors swirling together. "Are you okay?" Jihoon asked. "Your grandmother said I'll live 200 years after you die. I knew it intellectually, but hearing it said so plainly." "Are you having second thoughts?" "No, but I'm understanding the weight of this choice, really understanding it." She stopped walking. "Jihoon, I'm going to lose you. I'm going to watch you age and weaken and eventually die. And I'll keep going. For centuries, carrying the memory of you." "I know. I'm sorry." "Don't apologize. I'm not complaining. I'm just acknowledging what this means. What we're building together will end. But I'll remember it forever. You'll be with me for the rest of my life, even after you're gone." Jihoon took her hands. "Then let's make it worth remembering. Let's build something so beautiful that it lasts beyond death, beyond time, beyond everything." "How?" "By living fully, by loving deeply, by making every moment count." Her patterns shifted to warm golds. "Your grandmother was right. You're wise for someone so young. I learned from the best. A certain Valerian who taught me that wisdom isn't about age. It's about depth of feeling." 3 months later, they held a ceremony. Not a wedding exactly. Humans and Valerians didn't marry the same way. But something new. Something that honored both cultures. It was held at the new embassy. The courtyard was filled with humans and Valerians. Jihoon's parents came, crying with joy. Vela's sister Nira came from the homeworld, her patterns now showing acceptance if not full approval. Ambassador Rodriguez officiated. She spoke about bridges between worlds, about courage to love across impossible distances. About two people who proved that different didn't mean incompatible. Vela wore traditional Valerian robes that shimmered with her patterns. Jihoon wore a modified hanbok that incorporated Valerian design elements. When they joined hands, the crowd went silent. "I vow to honor you," Vela said. Her patterns were cascading with brilliant colors. "To learn from you, to love you with every day we have, to carry you with me through all my centuries." "I vow to cherish you," Jihoon said, "to teach you what it means to be human, to love you as deeply as I can, to make every moment worth your memory." They didn't kiss. Instead, they performed a Valerian resonance touch, foreheads pressed together, hands joined, breathing synchronized. For a moment, everyone watching swore they could feel it, the connection between them. The harmony of two souls singing together, the celebration lasted until dawn, humans and Valerians dancing together, sharing food and stories and laughter, building friendships that would shape the future of both species. But Jihoon and Vela slipped away before dawn. They went to the roof of the embassy where they'd built a small observation deck, a private place, their place. They watched the sun rise over Seoul, light touching the Han River, the city waking up, Earth turning toward a new day. "I have a gift for you," Vela said. She handed him a data crystal. "It's a Valerian memory capture. I've been recording everything, every conversation, every moment, every feeling. When I live beyond you, I'll have this. Perfect memory of our time together." Ji-hoon felt tears in his eyes. "That's beautiful and sad." "It's both. Like us." She paused. "I have plans too, for after. I want to teach at the university here, about you, about us, about what love means between species, so our story helps others, so it means something beyond just us." "You've thought about this a lot." "Of course. I need to plan for centuries. You taught me to feel deeply, but I'm still Valerian. I still think about the long view." "And the long view includes me?" "Forever. In memory, if not in presence." Her patterns shifted to soft colors. "But we have now. We have decades together. That's a gift. Let's not waste it mourning what we'll lose. Let's celebrate what we have." Ji-hoon pulled her close. "Did I ever tell you how much I love your smile?" "You mention it sometimes." She smiled that smile, natural now, completely hers. "It's better than it used to be. It was always perfect. I just had to teach you to believe it." They stood on the roof as Seoul woke up below them. Humans going to work, Valerians at the embassy starting their day. Two species learning to live together. Building a future none of them could have imagined a year ago. All because two people met at an observation deck. Two souls recognized each other across the impossible distance between worlds. Two hearts chose to love despite everything that said they shouldn't. Mina arrived later that morning with news. She'd been appointed as the ambassador to the Valerian homeworld. She would leave next month. "You two started something," she said, looking at Ji-hoon and Vela. "Human-Valerian couples are forming everywhere. Scientists collaborating and falling in love. Diplomats like me making friends and discovering resonance. You broke down the walls." "We just loved each other," Ji-hoon said. "Exactly. You just loved each other. And that changed everything." 5 years later, Grandmother Kim passed away. She was 98. She died in her sleep with family around her. At the funeral, Vela stood with Ji-hoon, her patterns dim with grief. "She told me once that death is just part of the cycle," Vela said, "but it still hurts." "Yes, it always does." "Is this what it will be like? When you die, this emptiness?" Ji-hoon held her hand. "Yes, but also gratitude. Grandmother lived a full life. She saw her grandchildren grow up. She met you. She saw humans reach the stars. She died knowing the world was better than when she entered it. I want that for you, a full life. Everything you dream of. I already have it. I have you." 10 years passed, then 20. The embassy grew. More Valerians came to Earth. More humans traveled to the Valerian homeworld. The alliance deepened into genuine friendship. Ji-hoon and Vela continued their work. They wrote papers together about cross-species relationships, advised couples facing similar challenges, spoke at universities about building bridges. But Ji-hoon was aging. At 49, his hair was gray. Lines marked his face. He moved slower than before. Vela still looked exactly as she had the day they met. "Does it bother you?" he asked one night. "That I'm getting old?" "No. Every line on your face is a memory. Every gray hair is a year we had together. You're beautiful to me. More beautiful than when we met." "Liar." "I don't lie. Valerians are terrible at it." She touched his face gently. "You're aging into wisdom, into depth. I love who you're becoming. Even knowing I'll be gone soon." "Soon is relative. We might have 30 more years, 40 if we're lucky, That's still time, still worth everything. They worked less as Jihoon aged, traveled more, visited places on Earth he'd always wanted to see, showed Vela the beauty of his homeworld, made memories. At 63, Jihoon had a health scare, his heart. The doctors fixed it, but it was a reminder. Time was limited, precious. Vela spent every night by his bedside in the hospital, her patterns dim with worry. When he woke up, she was holding his hand. "I'm okay," he said. "You're mortal. It's not the same thing." Everyone is mortal. Even Valerians die eventually. Not soon enough for me to understand it. Her voice was tight. "I'm not ready to lose you. Neither am I, but we don't get to choose the timing. We just get to choose how we use what we have." She crawled into the hospital bed beside him, carefully. They lay together, her cool skin against his warm body. Different, but matched. "I love you," she said. "I love you too. When you're gone, I'll keep your memory alive. I'll tell everyone about you, about us, about the human who taught a Valerian how to love. And I'll carry you with me, wherever I go next, in whatever comes after." They stayed like that until the nurses found them and scolded Vela for being in the hospital bed. But neither cared. They had now. They had each other. They had love that crossed species and defied logic and proved that sometimes the best things in life are the ones that seem impossible. Outside the window, Earth turned. Stars wheeled overhead. The universe continued its eternal dance. But in that moment, in that hospital room, two souls resonated together. Human and Valerian, mortal and long-lived, different and perfect, together. And that was enough, would always be enough, forever.